Good day to everyone. So we will be discussing the second to the last topic for the final period. We have specimen processing and special testing. So let's begin. The learning objectives are, at the end of this video, you will be able to explain the processes involved in handling of the specimen as well as special procedures, explain what is a chain of custody, and to give examples of tests that require the use of chain of custody. And lastly, to explain the point of care test or the POCT. So let's begin. The topic is handling and processing of blood specimens for laboratory testing. Okay. So studies show that approximately 46% to 68% of laboratory errors occur prior to analysis. So these errors, which are often referred to as pre-analytical errors, encompass mistakes in specimen collection, handling, labeling, and transportation. So addressing these pre-analytical errors is very essential for improving the accuracy and reliability of laboratory results, thereby enhancing patient care and outcomes. It is your responsibility as medical technologists and phlebotomists to follow all the appropriate steps that are required for each test that is performed. Okay, kaya nga class, no, we have also given you a topic with regards to pre-analytical variables and the pre-analytical considerations in order for us to minimize such errors. Kumbaga, bago pa siya ma-analyze, kailangan wala na siyang error. Okay, to have accurate results. For the routine handling, the medical technologist or the phlebotomist must have the knowledge and skills in performing routine venipuncture. So you should know and be careful in the proper way of mixing of tubes, for example, as well as to prepare the specimen for transport. So as medical technologists, we should also be able to deliver specimen in the laboratory within the time limit, except for situations such as during emergencies or other conditions mentioned in the time limit exceptions. First one is the mixing of tubes by inversion. So the number of inversion depend on the tube that you are using. Okay, so you just recall yung topic natin with regards to tubes and the number of inversions. Okay, so this process is very crucial for maintaining the integrity of the sample and ensuring the uniformity in subsequent analysis. Okay, so proper mixing due to inversion, proper inversion, helps prevent clot formation, ensures consistent results, and enhances the reliability of laboratory testing. So in transporting a specimen, okay, the handling of specimen for transport should be done properly. Why? To avoid hemolysis, activation of platelets, and activation of coagulation, among others. Okay, so these adverse effects can impact the accuracy and reliability of laboratory test results, which potentially leads to erroneous diagnosis or treatment decisions. So therefore, gentle and careful handling of specimens is essential to maintain the specimen integrity and to ensure accurate analysis. Okay, and also we have to remember, class, no, during the transport of the specimen, the tube should be placed in a liquid tight closure plastic bags with a biohazard logo. Kasi nga, di ba, yung specimen ninyo most probably is a blood. Okay? So that is a biohazard. Okay? So make sure that it should be in an enclosure plastic bag with a biohazard logo and slip pocket for appropriate paperwork or documentation. Okay, so the specimen tube should be transported with a stopper. Because of three reasons. Okay, to avoid contact between contents and the stopper, to minimize agitation of the specimen, and to aid in clot formation for serum tubes. For the special handling, okay, so special care is needed when handling blood specimen and also other specimen, no, to protect its condition and quality para pagdating niya sa laboratory for analysis, okay, hindi siya hemolyzed, okay, ready na siya for analysis. First one is body temperature. Okay. So in here, the specimen should be transported at near body temperature. So what is our body temperature? We have the normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. So if allowed to cool below body temperature, the specimen will precipitate or agglutinate. Okay? And also, the tubes should be pre-warmed at 37 degrees Celsius, and you can use portable heat blocks during transport. So these blocks can hold temperature for like 15 minutes from the removal from the incubator. Kasi class, yung heat blocks na to, nilalagay muna natin sa incubator, okay, para mag-warm sila. Okay? And then upon removal from the incubator, it can hold the temperature for at least 15 minutes. Okay? And also, di ba yung heel warmer, ginagamit natin kapag heel puncture. Okay? This can also be used for specimen that can withstand a temperature that is slightly higher than 37 degrees Celsius. So examples of this specimen that require a body temperature are called agglutinin, cryofibrinogen, and cryoglobulins. Next one is the chilled specimen. Okay, so chilling slows down the metabolic processes within a specimen, which is often desirable for preserving sample integrity and stability. So by reducing this metabolic activity, the chilling helps to minimize, example, biochemical reactions. Okay, chilling helps to minimize biochemical reactions, cellular degradation, and microbial growth within the specimen. Kaya for example, class, meron kayong urine culture, okay, and hindi nyo siya kaagad magagawa, pwede natin siyang ilagay muna sa refrigerator. Ang ibig sabihin nito, class, is to minimize, okay, to minimize the metabolic processes. Ibig sabihin, to minimize the microbial growth that might grow into the specimen. So, i-ref muna natin. Okay, kasi it minimizes the growth of bacteria. For example, kapag dun sa mga microbiology specimen natin by chilling or refrigeration. However, class, you have to remember that it is essential to note that chilling should be done appropriately and in accordance with specimen-specific requirements to prevent adverse effects on sample quality. Okay, so sorry for the background noise, no? So example of this are ACTH, ACE, ammonia, catecholamines. Okay, so andyan lang siya sa slide natin. Okay? And then also class, no, pag sa chilled specimen, dapat nakasubmerge yung tube or yung specimen inside the specimen tube in crushed ice and water slurry during transport. Hindi lang siya nakapatong. So dapat buong tube nakasubmerge. Okay? Next one, we have the light sensitive specimen. Okay, so there are cases when exposure to light can affect the result of a specimen. For example, bilirubin. Okay, and other examples are in the PowerPoint presentation because light exposure can degrade certain substances in the sample which can lead to inaccurate test results. So, ano yung pwedeng gawin natin? Okay, if light sensitive. So, pagka-collect, okay, for example, meron siyang request for bilirubin. So, pagka-collect ng specimen, ilalagay natin siya sa tube, okay, sa specimen tube. Ang gagawin natin is to prevent it from exposure to light, ang gagawin usually ng medical technologists is ibabalot na yung tube with an aluminum foil or use a light blocking amber colored container. Sa ibang laboratory naman class ang ginagamit, pag walang aluminum foil, gumagamit sila ng carbon paper. If you are familiar with carbon paper, okay? Pwede naman daw yon. Okay? Pero sa references natin, the phlebotomist should wrap down the tube using aluminum foil or light blacking or amber colored container. Yung amber colored container, yung parang kulay brown na container. Okay? Blood specimen processing and reasons for specimen rejection. So the collected specimens are transported to the central processing or triage for screening and prioritizing. So first, pagkadating niya doon sa pinaka-main laboratory, i-identify muna yan, followed by logging and accession. Kapag ibig sabihin ng ilalag or i-accession, ilalag muna yan usually sa logbooks and or usually ilalag muna yan sa information system ng laboratory. Okay? Third one is sorted by department and type of processing. And after that, okay, pag alam na kung saan ilalagay na department yung specimen, and kung anong processing ang gagawin doon sa specimen, it will be evaluated for specimen suitability, which is necessary to get accurate results. So, ititingnan nila, hemolyzed ba siya? Insufficient sample ba siya? Okay? Okay, so these are the reasons for specimen rejection. So, any specimen will be rejected for the following reasons. So, andyan na lahat ng reasons for specimen rejection. So, kapag na-reject yung specimen, it's either, okay, usually palagi, recollection ng specimen. Okay? Pero iwasan natin to class, no? Okay? So, these are, itong ilan to? 2, 4, 6. So, 12 reasons for specimen rejection. Okay? Next one, we have delivery time limits and exceptions for delivery and processing of specimens. We have the delivery time limits. Okay, so delivery time limits, the specimen should be transported to the laboratory immediately after collection. Okay, so routine blood specimen is expected, okay, dapat, okay, is expected to reach or to be delivered in the laboratory within 45 minutes. Huwag na tayong mag-exceed ng more than that. Okay? And also, di ba, pinag-usapan natin sa serum and plasma preparation that centrifugation needed by the specimen should be done in 1 hour. Okay? At least 1 hour. Okay? And then, hematology specimens with EDTA should not be centrifuged. Okay? Bakit? Okay? Because EDTA is an anticoagulant that prevents blood clotting, di ba? By binding calcium ions, thus inhibiting the coagulation. Okay, so if these specimens are centrifuged, sinentrifuge nyo yung hematology specimen that is in an EDTA additive, okay, it can lead to the formation of small clots or platelet clumps. Okay, these small clots or platelet clumps can interfere with accurate hematological analysis. And also additionally, centrifugation can cause hemolysis, okay, because magra-rupture yung red blood cells kapag sinentrifuge natin. Yung hematology, di ba, pwedeng ma-compromise yung integrity of the specimen. Kasi ano yung ginagawa natin sa hematology? Yung mga blood cells. Okay? So again, class, the specimen should be transported to the laboratory immediately after collection. Time limit exemptions. A specimen that is marked as stat or emergency takes priority over all other specimen in terms of transportation, processing, and testing. Okay, so ano ibig sabihin kapag stat? It should be done within 1 hour. Okay, agad-agad should be done immediately. Okay, the delivery time limit has some exceptions. Ang exception niya, if the specimen is stat or emergency. Makikita nyo naman yan dun sa test request. May nakalagay na stat. Okay? Kapag may nakalagay na stat, gawin nyo siya agad-agad. Kasi, surely, after 1 hour, kukunin yung resulta. Or, wala pang isang oras, itatanong na kung ano yung resulta. Okay. So, test with exceptions to the time limit rule. Okay. This referred to specific laboratory tests where the usual requirement for timely processing and analysis may be relaxed under certain circumstances. Okay, so typically, laboratory specimens have a recommended time frame within which they should be processed to maintain sample integrity and ensure accurate results. However, for some tests, okay, some tests have exceptions to this rule due to the stability of the analytes being tested or specific handling requirements. So exceptions to the time limit rule are determined based on factors such as the analyte that is being measured or analyzed, okay, the specific methodology, and the stability of the specimen under various conditions. So it is essential for laboratory personnel to be aware of these exceptions and follow the established protocols within the hospital or within the laboratory to ensure the accuracy and reliability of test results. Okay? For example, okay, dito sa PowerPoint, EDTA specimen daw for ESR. Okay? Actually, class, di ba black siya, pero pwede pa rin siyang EDTA. Kasi, generally, ESR is a hematological procedure. Okay? So, general, kapag hematology, ang ginagamit is EDTA. Okay? So, EDTA specimen for ESR should be tested daw for hours at room temperature. Okay? Kapag nasa room temperature siya, we can test it for hours. Okay? And kapag refrigerated siya, 12 hours. Okay? From collection. Okay? Tested for hours from collection if nasa room temperature, and kapag refrigerated naman daw siya, so pwede siya 12 hours. Okay? Next one is centrifugation. So again, pinag-usapan natin to, no? And also you must remember that the tube should be balanced in a centrifuge. Okay? Of the same size dapat yung tube, and then same volume of the specimen, opposite one another. Okay? Next, again, si centrifugation daw. Okay? Although there are machines that test sample specimens directly through the stopper. Okay? Most of the processes require the stopper to be removed to obtain the serum or plasma. Okay? So removal, in removing, okay, kailangan class careful lang, no? Kasi kapag ni-remove natin yun, po pwedeng mag-spill yun sa ice natin. Okay? So dapat remove, careful lang palagi on every specimen that we are processing. Okay? So, next one is aliquot preparation. So, same pa rin yung ginawa natin sa experiment natin, no? Wherein, a portion of the sample specimen that is taken for chemical analysis or testing. Okay? Prepared when multiple tests are ordered on a single specimen. Okay? Para hindi ka lang kuha ng collect ka ng collect ng blood from the vein. Okay? Kumbaga, ipo-portion natin yung specimen into smaller volume para magamit siya for multiple tests. Okay? So the preparation is done by transferring a portion of the specimen into one or more tubes that are labeled. Again, class, they should be labeled with the same information as the original specimen. Kung ano yung label nung blood collection tube na merong blood nung nag-collect kayo should match, okay? Should match yung name na naka-label doon sa transfer tube. Okay? Again, we will be transferring it using a disposable transfer pipette. Okay? And remember this one, specimens with different anticoagulants should not be put in the same aliquot tube. Okay? Huwag niyong imimix. Okay? For example, EDTA. Okay? And may anticoagulant. Tapos ano pa yung isa, for example? Heparin. Green. Okay? So, since pareho silang may anticoagulant, okay? So, baka sabihin nyo, plasma pa rin siya. Okay? Pero hindi. Plasma silang pareho, pero magkaiba siya ng anticoagulant. Okay? So, you have to remember that specimens with different anticoagulants should not be put in the same aliquot tube. So, the phlebotomist, okay, kayo, must see to it that the tube is also covered as soon as it is filled. Okay? Usually, kino-cover natin yun ng parafilm. Yun. Okay? Next one. Okay, so OSHA Act, Republic Act 11058 required protective equipment worn when processing of specimen. Ito yung mga PPEs natin. Okay? So when processing specimens in the laboratory, the health worker is exposed to blood and other potentially infectious materials. So for this reason, kailangan natin ng PPEs. Next one. Let's proceed to special testing. So what are these special tests? We have the time samples. Okay? So the time samples refer to specimens collected following a specific time schedule. Meron siyang schedule, okay? Which is often associated with certain diagnostic tests or monitoring protocols. Examples of time specimens are the glucose tolerance test, the 2-hour postprandial blood sugar, and the lactose tolerance test. So this test, okay, this time sample, okay, this test require precise timing of the specimen collection. Hindi tayo yung gagawa ng timing, okay, magfa-follow tayo ng certain protocols to ensure accurate interpretation of results and may involve specific preparation instructions for the patient. So dapat alam nyo rin kung paano nyo i-instruct yung patient, okay, such as fasting or consuming certain substances. Okay? So proper adherence to the timing schedule is very important for us to obtain reliable information from this test. Okay, so remember class, no, the samples collected too early or too late may falsely increase or decrease. Okay? So dito pumapasok yung minsan over-fasting and under-fasting. Okay? So first, let's proceed with glucose tolerance test or the GTT. So this test helps in diagnosing conditions such as DM or diabetes mellitus and gestational diabetes by evaluating the body's ability to regulate blood glucose levels in response to a glucose challenge. Okay, so the procedure is draw a fasting blood glucose samples. Okay, so dapat class, nag-fast muna siya. So usually, yung fasting natin is 8 to 12 hours, di ba? So depende pa rin yun sa protocol ng laboratory. But it should be within 8 to 12. Okay, so nag-fasting muna si patient and dumating siya sa laboratory. Okay, so anong gagawin natin? Okay, anong gagawin natin? Kukuhanan muna natin ng specimen, that is for the FBS. Okay, and then i-analyze natin. We have to analyze first before letting the patient drink the solution. Okay, and then after natin in-analyze, we will ask the patient to drink the flavored glucose solution. Yung nakikita natin dito sa PowerPoint, ito yung glucose solution. Okay, so we will ask the patient to drink the flavored glucose solution. Okay, so dapat uubusin niya yung isang bote niyan. Okay, walang labis, walang kulang. Okay, so the timing for the next collection, okay, begins when the patient finishes the glucose solution. Okay, so ang timing nun is hanggang pag ita-time natin, magi-start tayo kapag natapos na ni patient na inumin yung glucose solution. Start na tayo ng time. Okay, and then after 1 hour, okay, for example, natapos niya ng 7:30 na inumin. Okay? So, after 1 hour. So, 8:30, magdodraw tayo ng blood and then analyze. Okay? And then, after that, 9:30, that is the 2-hour sample. Draw the blood and analyze. And then, the 3-hour sample, makukuha na siya ng, tama ba? Ng oras, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, yung 3-hour sample. And then, draw blood and analyze. Okay? So, bali, 4 na beses siyang makukuhanan. Okay? First is for the FBS. The second one for the 1-hour sample. Second is 2-hour sample. And lastly, the 3-hour sample. Okay? Di tayo pwedeng, ay sige, kuhanan na kita kasi naiinip na si patient. Wag. Okay? Follow pa rin tayo dun sa right timing. Okay? Okay. Next one is the lactose tolerance test. Okay, so lactose tolerance test is for patients who are unable to break down lactose from milk products. Okay, so nagkakaroon siya ng gastrointestinal discomfort and diarrhea. For example, pag uminom siya ng yogurt, pag uminom siya ng milk. Okay, that is a patient with lactose intolerant condition. Okay, so ang gagawin is itetest siya for lactose tolerance test. Okay, so this procedure involves assessing the body's ability to digest lactose, which is a sugar that is found in dairy products. So the procedure involves, okay, the first one, we have to prepare the patient first. Okay, so ano yung preparation na gagawin ni patient? The patient is asked to fast overnight. Okay, parang FBS din. Okay, magpa-fast muna siya before the test to establish a baseline fasting blood glucose level. I-establish muna kasi natin yung baseline fasting blood sugar or glucose level niya. Okay? And then also, the patient's body weight is recorded to determine the appropriate amount of lactose solution to be consumed. Hindi lang basta-basta bibigyan ng lactose solution. Okay? Kailangan muna nating malaman yung body weight ni patient. Okay? Next one, a blood collection schedule is similar to a 2-hour GTT. Okay. Okay, so after yung preparation niya is a patient is asked to fast overnight before the test. Okay? This anong reason? To establish a baseline fasting blood glucose level. Okay? Second one is, okay, um, so, and then, the consumption of lactose solution. So, instead of the glucose solution, katulad nung ginawa kanina, okay, instead of a glucose solution used in a glucose tolerance test, the patient drinks a standardized amount of lactose solution based on their body weight. Okay? So, so nakakuha muna tayo, no, ng FBS, and then iinom siya ng lactose solution based on the body weight of the patient. And then, after 1 hour, okay, and after 2 hours, after consuming the lactose solution, kukuha na natin siya ng blood. For example, natapos niyang nakuhaanan siya ng blood ng 7 o'clock. Okay, and then, pinainom natin siya ng lactose solution. Okay, natapos kunwari siya ng 7:30. And then, to get the 1 hour sample, yung susunod na collection is 8:30. And then, susunod na collection for the 2 hour is 9:30. 1 hour and 2 hours interval after consuming the lactose solution. Okay, so the blood samples that are collected at each interval are analyzed to measure the blood glucose level. Ano yung objective natin dito? The objective is to observe how the body responds to the lactose challenge and how effectively it metabolizes lactose into glucose. Okay? So ano yung paano yung interpretation niya? Okay? So in individuals with lactose intolerance, okay, kapag merong lactose intolerance yung isang individual, the rise in blood glucose levels after consuming the lactose solution is typically limited. So specifically, glucose levels should not increase by more than 20 milligrams per deciliter from the fasting sample result. Okay, hindi dapat siya mag-exceed ng more than 20 milligrams per deciliter from the fasting blood sample result. Okay, again class, no? The glucose levels should not increase by more than 20 milligrams per deciliter from the fasting blood result. Okay, blood result. Okay? So, if the increase exceeds 20 milligrams per deciliter, it suggests an impaired lactose digestion and indicates lactose intolerance. Okay, again, ulitin natin, no? The glucose levels should not increase by more than 20 milligrams per deciliter from the fasting sample result. Kapag nag-increase siya ng 20 milligrams per deciliter, it suggests that the individual has an impaired lactose digestion and indicates lactose intolerance. Okay? Okay, next one, we have the 2-hour postprandial blood sugar. So, ang pinaka-lead natin dito is yung postprandial. So, pag sinabi natin postprandial, ibig sabihin after a meal. Okay? So, tandaan natin, class, no? The food is digested. Okay? Kapag na-digest na natin yung food, blood sugar natin will increase. Matik yan. Okay? So, in response to this, yung pancreas natin will release insulin to move the sugar from the blood to the cells, muscles, or other tissues. Yun yung normal. Okay? So, within 2 hours of eating, after eating, 2 hours of eating, within 2 hours of eating, insulin and the blood glucose level will return to normal. Okay? Dapat magre-return siya sa normal within 2 hours of eating. Ano yung magre-return to normal? Yung insulin and the blood glucose level. Okay? But, if the glucose, okay, remains high, mataas pa rin yung glucose within 2 hours of eating, the patient is likely to have diabetes. Okay, so ano yung patient preparation natin dito? Okay, again, we will instruct the patient to fast, again, no, prior to the test. So this means they should not consume any food or drink other than water during this period. Okay, and then next one, we will draw a blood sample from the patient after the fasting period and then analyze natin yon. Okay, i-analyze natin yung sample to measure the patient's fasting blood sugar level. Okay, and then after the FBS sample is drawn, after nyo siyang kuhanan ng dugo, you will be instructing the patient to consume a full meal. Okay? This meal should contain a typical amount of carbohydrates and other nutrients that the patient would normally eat. So after niyang kuhanan, instruct natin si patient na kumain ng full meal. Okay? And then, orasan natin, 2 hours after the start of the meal, we will be drawing another blood sample from the patient. Okay, for example, kumain siya ng 8 o'clock. Okay, so i-time ninyo 2 hours after. By 10 o'clock, kukuhanan nyo ulit siya ng another blood sample. And then this sample will measure the patient's blood sugar level 2 hours after eating. And then, a-analyze ulit natin. Okay. And then for the interpretation class, we will be comparing the FBS sugar level. Okay, the FBS level, the fasting blood sugar level with the 2-hour postprandial blood sugar level. So in a person without diabetes, kapag walang diabetes si patient, the blood sugar levels will typically rise after eating, okay, but will return to normal within 2 hours. Okay, kapag naman may diabetes si patient, okay, yung blood sugar levels niya will remain elevated after meals, which indicates poor glucose control. Next one is the chain of custody. Yung chain of custody, para siyang document class. Documentation siya. Okay? So this is a detailed documentation that tracks the specimen from the time it is collected until the results are reported. Okay? So what we are trying to do here, class, is to maintain the integrity of the evidence. Okay? Or the integrity of the specimen. Okay? So this means we can demonstrate, kasi usually class, yung ginagamit yung chain of custody dito, yung mga DNA testing, yung ganyan, drug testing. Okay? So napaka-crucial niyan and subject to legal matters, di ba? And then, so, ibig sabihin kaya kailangan natin ng chain of custody kasi what if, okay, magre-report tayo sa court, okay, sa judge, okay, we will demonstrate to the judge that the evidence that is collected was the evidence that was tested and reported. Yun yung mismong actual evidence that was tested and reported. Ibig sabihin, hindi na-alter yung specimen, walang contamination yung specimen, wala ring replacement of the specimen. Hindi siya napalitan. Okay? Next one, the chain of custody. So, in a chain of custody, kasama dyan yung date, time, and place the specimen is obtained. So, nakalagay lahat yan doon sa chain of custody. And after that, and in a chain of custody, meron din siyang signature. Sino yung mga may signature dito? Okay? The signature of the person from whom the specimen was taken. Okay? And also, dapat lahat ng person, the individuals, all the individuals who have handled the specimen, nakalagay lahat yung pangalan at signature nila. Yun ang chain of custody. For example, ako yung nag-collect. So, andun ang signature ko, andun ang pangalan ko. And then, after collection, okay, pinasa ko siya kay Marites. Okay? So, si Marites, meron din siyang signature and name doon sa chain of custody. And then, si Marites, pinasa niya dito sa laboratory. Ang pangalan niya is Ana. Si Ana, meron din dapat siyang signature and name doon sa chain of custody. Ganun yung dapat doon sa chain of custody. Okay? So, ano yung ginagamitan natin ng chain of custody? We have drug testing. Okay? Si drug testing usually used for medical, legal, and employment purposes. Pagpapasok ng work, kailangan, or si employer, nire-request yung candidate, okay, yung hinahire nila to have drug testing. Okay? And then also, yung drug testing uses a special container, yung sa lalagyan usually ng wiwi. Okay? So, dapat polyethylene bottle yung gamit natin. Okay? And also, class, if meron sa inyo yung nagpa-drug test na, kung napansin ninyo, the collection of the specimen is often accompanied by a witness to prevent sample substitution, contamination, or dilution. Okay? So, In situations when there's a need to ensure the integrity and accuracy of the blood sample, having a witness present during the collection process can be crucial. This is very important in situations where there may be concerns about sample substitution, contamination, or dilution. And then also blood alcohol samples. Okay, so usually ordered for purposes related to treatment but could also be used for industrial or job related purposes. For example, na aksidente and then para maklaim yung insurance niya, kailangan mo na siyang magsubmit ng sample for testing for alcohol. Okay? So anong gagawin? Cleansing the site, soap and water, or non-alcoholic antiseptic solution. Okay? Next one is paternity testing. Okay, so yung samples tested are samples from the mother, the child, and the alleged father. Okay, so ano yung samples usually which are used for paternity testing? Okay, we have the blood and buccal swab. So balikan natin si blood alcohol sample. Okay, so usually ordered for purposes related to treatment, okay, but could also be used for industrial or job related purposes. Ibig sabihin na aksidente, for example, yung isang guy, for example, na aksidente siya, okay, and then in order for him to claim yung insurance niya, kailangan mo na siyang mag-submit ng blood sample to be tested for alcohol. Okay, and then also during the collection process, class, we have to remember to after filling the tube with the specimen, dapat tightly capped siya. Okay, ang rationale for this is to prevent the escape of volatile alcohol doon sa blood niya if meron man. Okay, and usually ano yung ginagamit dito na gray top ay na top? Okay, we have the gray top sodium fluoride glass tubes. Okay, so the point of care testing na tayo. Okay, point of care testing, also known as bedside testing. Okay, also known as bedside testing, alternative testing, near patient testing, decentralized testing, or ancillary testing. Ito yung point of care testing. So it typically involves outsourcing the testing to external laboratories or facilities. So usually this is done sa emergency situation. So during periods of high demands or emergencies, external laboratories can provide additional support to handle overflow testing efficiently. So ito yung advantages and disadvantage. And one pinaka-advantage ni point of care testing is reduce turnaround time. Ibig sabihin, mas mabilis yung resulta. Okay? And then, while meron siyang advantages, meron pa rin siyang disadvantage. Okay? Unang-una is yung cost. Okay? Mahal siya. Implementing POCT can be expensive due to the initial investment. Bibili tayo ng equipment. Okay? Tapos yung maintenance cost niya, tapos yung mga kailangan pa natin na materials or consumables such as yung test strips. For example, dun sa glucometer, kailangan natin bumili ng lancets or cartridges then and test strips. Okay? So additionally, the cost per test may be higher compared to centralized laboratory testing. Okay? And then next one, we have the as a disadvantage, we have the increased risk of error. So usually kapag si POCT pine-perform siya by non-laboratory personnel. For example, si glucometer sa bahay nyo, kahit hindi medtech, pwedeng gumawa ng pwedeng mag-test, di ba? So, this introduces the potential for errors due to variability in operator technique, inadequate training, or lack of quality control measures. And then the third one, narrower measuring range for some analytes. So many POCT devices have a narrower measuring range compared to laboratory analyzers. So this limitation may result in inaccurate results, especially for samples with analyte concentrations outside the device detection range. And then next one is cost in licensing and proficiency programs. Kasi klase POCT requires personnel to undergo specific training, licensing, and proficiency testing programs. Okay? Bakit? We have to ensure the competency and the performance of the test and the interpretation of results accurately. Oh, so since papadala mo yung personnel sa training, this may incur additional cost for the institution. So regulation of POCT. Okay? So CLIA, or the Clinical Laboratory Improvement Amendments of 1988, is the main regulating body in the US regarding POCT devices. Okay? So, yung test complexity daw, according to this regulation, is determined by the testing characteristics such as the stability of the reagent, okay, preparation of the reagent, operational steps, calibration, and quality control or QC. The stability of the reagent, okay, used in the test can significantly impact its complexity. Okay, so other reagents require special storage conditions or have a short shelf life, which may increase the complexity of the test management and inventory control. Next one, preparation of the reagent. Okay, so some tests naman daw, they require extensive preparation of reagents before the testing can begin. So, ano yung mga preparation usually? Involve dilution, mixing, or added manipulations that may add to the complexity of the testing process. Next one, operational steps. So, test with multiple steps and also masyadong complex na procedures or precise timing requirements are generally more complex to perform. Okay? Next one, calibration. Okay? So, this calibration procedure kasi class is very important to ensure that the test instrument or the equipment that we are using is accurately measuring the analyte of interest. Okay, so tests that require frequent calibration or complex calibration procedures may be more challenging to maintain and perform. Kumaga, i-maintain natin sila. Okay? And then, lastly is the quality control. This, lagi yan, no? Lagi, sa laboratory, quality control measures are very essential to ensure the accuracy and reliability of test results. Okay? So, nag-add pa rin siya dun sa complexity of the testing or POCT. Okay? So, meron tayong complexity categories. Okay? First one, we have the wave testing. Okay? Wave tests are considered to have the lowest risk of erroneous results and can be performed with minimal risk by individuals with limited training. Okay? So, usually these tests are very simple. Tapos, meron siyang clear instructions. Okay? Or usually gumagamit lang itong mga to ng test kits. Okay, so examples of test kits, yung pregnancy test, 'di ba? Kahit sino pwedeng gumawa nun. Okay? So these are simple procedures with little chance of negative outcomes. For example, nandun sa instruction kailangan 4 drops ng urine dun sa pregnancy test. Nilagay mo lang 3 drops. Okay? So halos wala man siyang negative outcome. Kaya siya tinawag na wave testing. Okay, other examples are in the PowerPoint presentation. And then next one, we have the moderately complex testing. Okay, these are more complex versus wave tests. Okay, and require a higher level of skill and training to perform accurately. So they involve more complex methodologies, operation of the instrument, or interpretation of results. Okay. So usually, the individuals who perform moderately complex tests are required to have specific trainings or certifications such as tayo, medical technologists or laboratory technicians. Examples, okay, ano yung examples dyan? Yung routine chemistry and blood count. Okay? Next one, we have the highly complex and the provider perform microscopy tests. Highly complex testing refers to tests that involve sophisticated methodologies and then advanced yung instrumentation niya, tapos very complex yung analysis niya and interpretation. And these tests require highly trained laboratory professionals such as clinical lab scientists, medtechs, to perform and interpret the results accurately. Ito naman, kay provider perform microscopy or PPM test. Okay? Ang focus niya is microscopy-based examination. Okay? So, involves simple sample preparation technique lang. And usually, ginagawa is visual examination under the microscope. And usually, ang gumagawa nito is yung mga physician's assistants, nurse practitioners, midwives, physicians, and dentists. Okay? Hindi tayo yung gumagawa dito. Okay? And then, examples of POCT, we have blood glucose testing, POC hematology or the point of care hematology, chemistry analyzers with ABG and FOBT. Si FOBT sa para. Okay? It stands for fecal occult blood test. So, ini-screen natin. Screening test siya to detect the hidden blood in the stool. Yung hindi natin nakikita, no? Which can be an early sign of anong disease. Example is colorectal cancer or other gastrointestinal conditions. And another example is pinaka-common is yung pregnancy testing. Okay? So that is the end of our discussion.